Hey, Dental Nachos crew, it is Paul, Dr. Nacho, with one important question for you. One question. Is being successful as a dentist too stressful? Is being successful, owning a practice, being productive, having a team, your hopes and dreams have been realized, but inside, is that too stressful? How do you handle that? Our key resource and sponsor, Audie, today is going to share with us, Audie Cashion, what he does to help dentists deal with stress and also deal with success. Audie, thanks for being here. Share with our Nacho verse what you do, who you are, and how you help dentists.
Paul, it's a great setup as far as like why I'm passionate about serving the dental family, because my dad was an orthodontist. So I grew up in the dental family. And one day I was at Chapel Hill, where I was a senior, and my dad and I were sitting upstairs in the bedroom. And I said, Dad, what's going on? You know, he was always playful and fun. He was a great guy. Everybody loved him. And he was sitting on my bed. And I remember it to this day. He looked into my eyes and he said, Audie, I just can't handle the stress.
Jeez.
I can't handle the stress anymore. He drove home that night from Chapel Hill, North Carolina to High Point, went upstairs to sleep it off. He never missed a day in his practice, had a massive heart attack and died that night.
I'm so sorry to hear that. That's just... those are the things in life these are the stories, good, bad, different, poignant, and sad, that we need to get more out there, because no one tells this to dentists early enough for them to seek the help. And I'm so appreciate you doing this. I'm proud of the work that we do at Dental Nachos in bringing to light the reality. Yes, the fun, yes, the good parts, but also dentists dying by suicide, dentists being depressed, dentists just sometimes being miserable to live or be with. Sometimes most of life is in the middle. Maybe people aren't, horrifically depressed, but they're not easy to be around. And I know that feeling. I come back home from work some days after I've talked to 62 people who don't want to talk to me, and I'm not easy to be around. So I really appreciate you sharing that authentic story. So that motivated you to do what you do, Audie. Is that correct? Absolutely.
I wanted to turn our family's tragedy into something that honored my dad, and that was something that nobody else, I wouldn't want them to experience what my dad did. And you talk about suicides. My dad had, 3 guys in his class that he was close to that actually committed suicide. Jeez. One guy that actually practiced with him. And so I realized the stress that goes on, having been in that, and the tragedy of what can happen if it doesn't get addressed. And that's what I help dentists do.
And I'd like to interject, because it's such an important share for a dental student up to 40 years in practice, is this. I am not a mental health professional in any way, but I've been lucky to have people on. Frank King's been on. We've had actual psychologists on. And whether it's with dentistry, whether it's with cyberbullying, a lot of it comes down to thinking this thing is too important. That's not that important. How much money you make, people making fun of you, and us to get the story out about how we can redefine success or recenter success or modify that. So with your coaching, share with us maybe a success story, a scary story, or just a day in the life of Audie, of who comes by your Nacho plate and what you guys talk about.
Absolutely. Great question. Well, I remember speaking, and actually it was a workshop. It was a one-thing workshop in Georgia. And the guy who signed up was an orthodontist. And it was kind of poignant because my dad being an orthodontist, and he said, I thought I came here to make my practice more profitable. But really what I found out is I want to have a spiritual component to my life. And so he went away from that to find, what was his one thing? What was his one priority that he needed to work on? We all have one thing. We all have one thing that we're not happy with. Because I'll tell you another story. I was trying to reach out to see if I can serve as many dentists as I could. I was in Charlotte, and my dentist gave me to an oral surgeon, and he was going to help me out. I went into his practice. He had all the things on the walls. He's internationally known, and works on the board of one of the really great organizations that have the group studies. I won't mention it, but I said, well, thank you for helping me. Thank you for setting me up with all these different contacts. And I said, how can I serve you? And he said, and he leaned back in his chair. He said, my practice is humming along. Everything's going great. My wife, my kids, we all love each other. And I saw him. He was taking his kids to school in the morning because I'd ride my mountain bike, and I could see him passing, taking his kids to school. So I didn't think he was being prideful, but then he leaned back like that and stretched, and he looked down, and his belly was sticking out. And he patted this, and he said, except for this one thing. Yeah. So we all have one thing that we can.
I like that. I talk about that all the time. It's always kind of try your best to be grateful for what you have when you have it, because it could be physical health, it can be emotional health. And that happens a lot to dentists too, because you're stressed out and you don't have time to take care of yourself. If someone was watching this, and we're going to talk more, and they wanted to reach out to you and say, hey, I'd like to do one of your complimentary coaching calls, how would they do that? What site would they go to?
Very simple. It's audiecashion.com. Just audiecashion.com. It's AUDIECASHION.com.
Awesome. And let's say I do that. I call you up. What's the complimentary coaching call or the finding out? What's that look like? We talk on the phone. We do Zoom. What are we going to talk about during that call?
Yeah, through that, we're going to just have a telephone conversation. And really, I'm going to help you focus on what's really not working at the level that you want. What's that one thing in your life? It could be one of the 7 areas of your life that may not be working at the level. And maybe you're not even aware of it right now. So that was like what happened to my dad, is he wasn't aware about the level of stress that he was under.
And that's very normal until someone, what drives me Nacho nuts, Audie. If I go back to dental school and say this, and I could walk in and they could say, you could say anything. This is one thing I'd say. When you are in private practice, take a portion of your money, your budget, and put it towards coaching and consulting. Maybe one year, that's about adding an associate. Maybe another year, it's about personal growth. Maybe a third year, it's about adding new procedures. But they make it like you should know this stuff yourself. And it's the same cliched stuff. I just watched The Last Dance, but a cliche can be meaningful. Michael Jordan has a coach. Tiger Woods has a coach. Bill Gates has a coach. But dentists want to figure it out on themselves. And until someone looks from outside of your box, they don't see those weaknesses. Just like in sports, they look at someone's game and say, hey, you have holes in how you play defense. And the person says, thanks, I never knew that. So I would just love to expand the awareness of dentists and realize that coaching and consulting is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and wanting to get better. And, you know, I think sometimes, I'm sure you deal with this. I mean, it's insane, but dentists sometimes feel bad, even probably calling you to ask for help, right? Meaning like, you know, it's some sort of mark against them. How do you get them over that hump of sort of seeing, you know, change is not a bad word, or it doesn't mean they're not doing well, they'll want to do better?
That's a great question, because really I think that starts in dental school, because you're supposed to know the right answer, and there's so much competition that's structured in dental school that you feel like if you say I need help and you're in the service providing industry of healthcare, helping other people, then it shows weakness. But it really doesn't, because if you look at all CEOs in business, they want, 97% of them want a coach, want someone to help them. Because like you said, Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods and Warren Buffett, all those people that were highly successful in their fields got to be successful, not after they got a coach later after they were successful. They got to be successful by having that coach initially.
Of course. And you know, I like to think of, you know, Nacho isms and Paul isms. And I was thinking of one last night on leadership, because this is so appropriate. You know, we look at the whole world, we look at Earth, right, going through this pandemic. Then we look at our own country. Then we look at our own state. Then we look at our own profession, dentistry. And there's a true lack of leadership. And what that means to me is great leaders don't have all the answers. Great leaders go and get help to get the answers, right? Great leaders, when your team say to you, is everything going to be okay in our practice? Great leadership isn't saying, oh, yes, don't worry about it. Great leadership saying is, we're going to work on these answers to get them together. And I believe that would be a great advice for a lot of our leaders on earth, because it's that ego-driven, I should have all the right answers, leads to stress, leads to bad results, leads to problems. So I think that is awesome, Audie. I'm so happy to have you sharing with our community as a sponsor. And I wanted to bring up this point now. On Sunday, we're going to have you on our special show, the Associate Survival and Thrival Kit. I'm going to be interviewing you about, you know, job finding tips, practice ownership things. Have you seen in your coaching, you know, associate challenges, owners who want an associate? Share with us maybe a preview of something that you've seen, or maybe something that, you know, could help our audience.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, you see behind the scenes with these owners, and they're going to tell you, you know, somebody wants an associate. I always like this. I like food, Audie. You know, when pizza comes at the office pre-COVID, and there's 8 pieces, people rush up and take the pizza, right? Mm-hmm. And somebody always gets left with no pizza. And if you do that with your associate position, and pizza's production or patience, and there's not enough pizza or production for the associates, it's going to be a failure. It's going to be a problem. You could have the best intentions, but if you don't plan your pizza production or patience for your associates, it's going to lead to stress, and owners don't want that, or associates. So I appreciate that, Audie. If you guys want to join us on Sunday, you're going to see Audie there. Just text text Connect to 215-543-6454. Just visit dentalnachos.com. And Audie, I'll give you our parting words here for the Nachoverse. Share with how people can reach out to you, and any parting thoughts for our talk today.
Absolutely. So the way to reach out to me is just audiecashion.com. and schedule an appointment. There's no obligation or anything like that. It's free and complimentary. And then if it's something urgent, I really do care. So if you want to call me, you can call me on my mobile. I'm giving you this as a private way to reach me is 336-880-8898, because I know there's times whenever we all get to a place of just saying, it's not worth it anymore. I've talked to many dentists and have clients that have basically said, there's been a dark time where I basically just said, my family would be better off without me.
Yeah.
And we have a friend that we share that I know their story about that. Yeah. So I would say this, it's never too late to transform your life and your practice to make it look the way that you want it to. Just like what you were saying, Paul, I've got a client the other day that was saying, I just need to probably get rid of this associate. He didn't own what he was doing. And really, like we talked about early on, it's really about that person stepping up with leadership and saying, look, this is the culture that we have here. This is the vision that we have. And that's what I help you create in your practice. So it's not just one-on-one coaching, but it's a collaborative facilitation where I'm backing myself out of it, but helping you with your practice. But just jump on a call. There's a couple of different ways to reach me, but all those are just calls. So
I appreciate it. It's very generous to do that. And in my house, as we wrap up here, we watch Frozen 2 almost every day. And there's a great song by Kristen Bell, Anna, Do the Next Right Thing. And it's just so important. When stress is happening, pause, just do the next right thing. And sometimes it's text someone like you and just say, I'm having a serious problem. What can I do next? And just somebody having that little bit of help, that feeling that they have a friend or resource in their phone is everything. So thanks so much, Audie. We're going to talk more. Have a great rest of the day, and I appreciate you sharing with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Paul.
See you guys later.